I'm so happy to be today with Itzel Lara Laursen. Thank you, Itzel, for opening your home to me.
Thank you. I'm very, very happy to have you here.
Thank you. Me too. To be honest. Let's talk a little bit about everything that you do, because you do many techniques.
Yes.
Everything regarding personal development, also healing. If you can tell us a little bit about the techniques that you use.
Okay, yes. For me, it's sort of been a lifelong journey, getting involved with personal development. Since I was little, I struggled a lot with interacting the world sort of outside of myself.
Okay.
Speaking, socializing, really interacting with the world was difficult for me. So I started doing EFT tapping, which is
it's
the acupressure points that
you
tap on your face while saying statements that relate to your limitations and blockages that you have.
Wow, that's beautiful.
To liberate them.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's TAT, the TAT, which is you get in a certain pose.
Okay.
While you sort of you put the things that you want to release and the things you want to heal in a container.
Okay.
And then you get in this pose, and there's a kind of healing guided meditation of sorts that allows you to release and heal and sort of put these things in the past.
Okay, what does TAT stand for? Sorry.
Yes, it's Tapas acupressure technique. Okay. So Tapas is the person that created this technique.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect.
And then I've also done Access Consciousness, which is a technique that works a lot with, there's sort of two sections. One section is working with energies on the body to release judgments and limitations and energies that we have stuck in the body.
Okay.
And another side of it is verbal processing, where we ask questions to bring up also judgments, limitations, points of view that we have to make ourselves more aware. And then we use something called the clearing statement to release that and create a sense of lightness and space where there was previously a heaviness and a density. So, I've explored a lot of different techniques. And I've also, with my brother, developed Develop Your Element.
Exactly. It's called Develop Your Element. You guys developed it. Yeah.
We work on, well, as the name suggests, developing the aspects of yourself that are the most natural, the most in your element.
Yeah.
What parts of you are the most essentially you.
I love that.
And then what parts of you are maybe not so essential as who you are.
Okay.
But you can still develop them. You can still use them. There's still tools that you can use in your life, so long as you don't get lost in them, so long as you don't use them from a place of insecurity and self-doubt and self-judgment. Because what happens a lot of the time is we try and change ourselves from a place of self-doubt. We try and change ourselves from a place of self-judgment, from a place of, oh, I'm not good enough, or I've been told my whole life that I should be more like this and more like that. And
what do you think we do that well, I'm not going to say all the time, but why do you think people tend to do that? That maybe they're starting a change, or they're saying, yes, I'm going to trust that I know this and I'm going to embark in this new journey. And then suddenly you start self-doubt, and it's as if you're sabotaging yourself.
Yeah, it's whenever we go into the unknown, fears are going to come up. It's unknown. We don't know. We don't have the plan. We don't have the answers.
We don't have the control.
We don't have the control. And we're brought up to have answers. We're brought up in school to what is the answer.
Exactly, to always know.
Exactly. We're not brought up to explore, to be curious, to let's find out.
Yeah.
We're brought up to what is the answer and what is the right answer. We're taught there's a right answer and there's a wrong answer.
Exactly. As if there's right and wrong.
Exactly.
And not...
So when we venture into the unknown and we try something new, we're still thinking that way. And we're thinking, oh, there's a right answer and there's a wrong answer and I don't know the answer. So I'm probably going to do something wrong and somebody's probably going to witness me doing something wrong. And then those fears kick in and then we prefer stepping back into what we used to know, where we do have the answers, even though it's not what we really want, even though it's not going towards our true goals. But at least here I kind of have the answers. Yeah,
and then not even trying.
Yeah.
Because it's too scary or...
Yeah.
My goodness.
And one of the things that I've loved about being on this journey of exploring all these different methods of personal development is letting go of that need to have the answers, which can be tricky because when you do personal development, you can fall into the trap of having to be perfect. There is a bit the trap of like, oh, because I do personal development, like now my life is in order. I don't have any problems anymore. Like everything's perfect. Now I have the answers. And I did fall into that trap at one point.
Okay. I think we can all fall into that trap.
Because I got certified in so many techniques and so many people were looking up to me and looking to me for the answers in their lives. And even if I told them, like, I'm not here to give you the answers, I'm here to help you in the process of asking the questions, of figuring it out. Like, I'm here to help you in the process, but I'm not here to give you the answers. Even then, there was this pressure to be perfect.
Yes.
And so I sort of had a period where I had to step back a little bit. And kind of become the student again. And a lot of people were shocked because they were like, what happened? Did you disappear? Like, did you stop doing this technique and did you stop doing that technique? And like, do you no longer like all these things that you were doing? And it's like, no, I still enjoy them and I'm still using all these tools and they're amazing. But the way in which I'm using them had to change. Because I started falling into that trap of using them to reinforce the beliefs that I had before going on this journey.
Exactly. And I feel that the answer is always within, right? Like you already have the answer. Even having, the tools, which is just makes it maybe easier or just gives you guidance, but you already have the answer within you, right? Like all these people that were trying to get the answer from you, and it's like, but maybe you just have it already inside you. Each one has it.
I know, like I help them find out what they already know.
What they already know, right?
And some people don't like that. And I understand that. But a lot of people also appreciate it when they really get it. When they really experience it. And they really get, I actually knew that.
It's like, it's empowering.
It is empowering. Realizing that. And for me, it's been life-changing. Because I grew up not trusting myself. I grew up feeling incapable. I grew up feeling... I was always the smart kid academically. I was good in school. But that was sort of my one thing that I was good at. Because I grew up with selective mutism, so speaking was difficult, which meant making a phone call or going to the doctor alone or going to the bank alone or doing any adult functioning thing by myself was not really very viable.
Okay.
So I depended a lot on my family and certain people close to me. And that's fine when you're a child, but as you're getting older, as you're becoming a teenager, you feel the clock ticking, and the idea of like adulthood approaching becomes a threat, you know, where some people are like excited about, oh, I'm going to be an adult and I'm going to be independent and like, ooh, freedom. And like, for me, it was a threat of, oh no, what am I going to do? If like, yeah, I'm smart, but what am I going to do with it if I can't function as an adult? If I can't be independent, I won't be able to get a job because entry-level jobs, most of them require doing phone calls and speaking, and yes. And that was like the worst thing that you could make me do. I had full-blown panic attacks trying to do phone calls. And going from that to getting to a point where I trust myself. And not just trust myself and like, oh yeah, I trust myself, but like really have this deep, deep trust in who I am, in what I am, in the choices that I make, in the way that I live my life, in the way that I carry myself. It's such a different life. And it's such a different sense of self that I didn't plan to work in personal development. Like, really? I just planned to do it for me, to learn, to be able to live. But it was something so powerful for myself that I couldn't not share it.
It changed your life, and you said
other people need to have access to this too.
That's amazing. That's amazing. It's so beautiful that with the tools that you were acquiring, you just started to see how amazing you were, and that you could trust that you have the knowledge, you have the power to be and do whatever you want.
Yeah.
That's the philosophy that we're trying to spread with we are infinite.
Yeah.
We are infinite beings in this universe.
Yeah.
I love your story, and it's so powerful. And I really love also your mother, Berenice.
Yeah.
I think she's a great woman. And she's also on this path of personal development. Yeah. And as I understand, you both work together. She also has these same techniques, although I think she also has other ones.
Yeah.
So how is it working with her? And
it's amazing. I'll admit, at first it was a challenge because we have very different ways of working. So, no, she's amazing. She's absolutely amazing. And she's part of the reason why I'm doing this, and I'm part of the reason that she's doing this.
Oh, how beautiful! Wow.
Because
I love that.
Like, we've both had times where we wanted to quit because it's not the easiest thing to do. Like, you see a lot of things that are difficult to see, and you hear a lot of things that are difficult to hear. So there are times when it becomes a lot to take and it becomes a lot to deal with, and you kind of want to step away from it.
Yes.
And we've supported each other a lot through that.
That's wonderful.
And whenever one of us isn't sure how to face a certain situation, the other one is able to sort of step in and remind the other one of like, hey, have you used this tool? Have you used that tool? So having that support network is really, really amazing.
That is great.
But yeah, no, I remember when we first started working together, because we actually started working separately. Because she started working in this first, like I was sort of working on myself Well, she started doing this professionally before me. And then I kind of fell into doing it professionally while I was living in Japan and I was in college.
Wow.
People kind of found out about me, like through rumors and things. They were like, hey, there's this person that has these certifications and they're living in Japan. And like, people started messaging me like, hey, is it true? And I was like, yeah. And so you can give these classes. Yeah. Okay. We have a group of so many people. Like, give us a class. Okay.
Wow, that's great.
And so I started doing that. And then my mom, she had planned a trip actually to Barcelona. And it was not, in Access, there's a tool called Light and Heavy where you get the sense of the energy of something, and if it's heavy or dense, there's something about that that's not working for you.
Okay.
And if it's light and if it's expansive, then it's something that's true for you, something that's working for you. So
I love that too.
the trip to Barcelona, it was heavy. Like, it was heavy, it was dense, it was not flowing, it was not working. And she was sort of stuck on that. She was asking different questions and she was trying to sort of figure out, like, is it something she could change? Or is it something that she maybe had to cancel? And at the time in Japan, people were asking about her because I'd mentioned, like, oh, my mom also does Access and she also can give classes. And they were like, oh, you should invite her. I was like, yeah, well. So I wrote to her and I said, when can you come? And she was like, no, I'm fully booked. I'm going to Barcelona and then I'm going to, I don't know if she was booked for France after that and then China and I don't know what.
Yeah, she's in high demand.
But she was telling me, Barcelona's really heavy. And I said, okay, Ma, you keep telling me Barcelona's heavy. And you keep getting really excited when I mention Japan. What would it be like if you cancel Barcelona and come to Japan instead?
Yeah.
And it was super light. So she did that. She canceled Barcelona and she came to Japan. And we had first, I think, a group of 20 or so, but it grew. So, like, we had an Airbnb for 20 people, but it got overfilled with more people who came last minute.
Wow.
The floor was filled with people, like, every inch. Like, there was no room for more people. The bed, it was a studio apartment. The bed was filled with so many people that the bed broke. Oh my God. And then we got a bigger Airbnb and then we started renting out salons, like event spaces. And we started having like 80 people a day and things like that.
Wow, that's incredible. Oh my goodness.
And it was amazing and it was insane. And it was also at moments tough because my mom tells a lot of stories when she's giving classes. And I, especially back then, was like very step by step. And, I would be like quite aware of like the time and the structure and things like that. So my mom would start telling a story and I would have no idea where she was going with the story. I would have no idea how it was relevant to the class. I would have no idea what it had to do with a question that the person just asked.
You were like, where's the structure here?
And I was like, there's no structure, there's no logic, and I would just get stressed, but I would like sit and smile and be polite. And so we would do this thing where like there were some classes where she would lead very heavily, and then there would be classes where I would lead very heavily.
Okay.
Because we couldn't find each other's rhythms. And then we just sat down and talked one day, and we were like, okay, Ma, I see that people are really happy with you. So I get stressed, but people are happy, so I don't know why I'm getting stressed. And people are happy with me too, so like there's nothing wrong with me either. So I think we're both doing okay.
Yes.
And somehow just acknowledging that there's nothing wrong with either one of us, even though we're very different,
Ooh, yes.
allowed us to use both of our strengths. And since then I realized, like, her storytelling, she's good at painting pictures, and she's
incredible
good at telling stories that people relate to. So since then, like, I've become better at telling stories too.
Wow. Yes.
Because I used not to say anything about myself or my personal life or tell stories or anything.
Oh, wow.
So I was really good at what I did, but people didn't relate to me necessarily. Like, they loved me, but they didn't relate to me because they didn't know who I was.
Of course, because you weren't showing them
Exactly.
who you were, right?
So we both learned a lot from each other by recognizing each other's strengths. And since then, we've just been a really great team.
And you definitely are. I mean, I'm so glad that you still, like, you guys have been working together for years then.
Yeah.
And I recently took a class with Itzel, her mom, and Mariana, which is another facilitator who's in Venezuela. Do you remember me? Her last name?
Tariba.
Mariana Tariba.
Yeah.
And it was so good, exactly, because each one is, so different.
Mm-hmm.
They each have their style, but I still remember the class. That was like 21 days to change your reality with money, which is fantastic. I highly recommend it.
It was a very good class.
Excellent class. Everybody loved it. And we were so many.
Yeah.
But like exactly, I still remember like the stories you told about you and your mother, and you just empathize and you receive the information better, and it just feels also like closer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you guys have this warmth that I just love, besides the fact that what you teach is very interesting, is very useful, but it's also like that personal thing that you guys add and that bring to the table, which is magical.
Yeah. That's something that, part of that was learning from my mom, sort of the power of storytelling. And part of that is also what I've learned with Develop Your Element. Working on Develop Your Element with my brother Jannik. Since we work a lot with psychology and personality and sort of working on bringing out the best parts of yourself and who you are, I've been able to bring out a lot of parts of myself that I had suppressed. And turns out I had suppressed a lot of parts of who I am. Wow. Because there are aspects of who I am that I thought conflicted with each other.
Okay.
I thought they were not compatible with each other. Like, I have some instincts that are very introverted, very like peace and quiet, alone time, yes, structure and planning, things like that. And then there are parts of me that are very social and very like, yes, people and connecting and adventure and moving and travel and doing things. And there's a side of me that's very sentimental and warm and about deeper connections with others. Which the introverted side sometimes likes to be a little more careful about expressing his emotions and doesn't take as many risks emotionally. And when I was a kid, just through certain life experiences with bullying and rejection and facing certain kinds of abuse, I sort of decided that introverted, careful, logical planning side of me was the safest.
Okay.
and that it was best not to take risks socially or emotionally.
Yeah.
So I stopped expressing myself socially. I stopped expressing myself emotionally. I stopped being spontaneous. I stopped developing as deep relationships as I perhaps wanted to. I stopped sharing me with the world as much as I wanted to. And realizing that, at first it really hit me in the face. I remember one class, a relationship class with developed development, that officially I was supposed to be giving with my brother. Okay. And it wasn't very many minutes before I had to say, I'm sorry, I think I'm going to be taking this class instead of giving it. And I had to move to the back and say, wow, Jannik, you're in charge.
Yes.
I'm going to be a student today. And participants, I apologize. I'm going to be joining you.
It takes a lot of courage.
It does. And at the same time, I was in a position where I needed it so much that I almost didn't even think about courage or no courage. It was, I just knew that I needed to do that.
Okay.
Like I could have, of course, not done it, but I needed to, in order to find out who I am. And that day, after that class, there were fans that wanted to have dinner with us and take pictures with us and say nice things. And I couldn't process information. I couldn't think. I don't remember anything that was said in that class.
Wow.
I was in so much shock that I just had to go to the hotel and lie in bed. And I think part of me wanted to cry and part of me was so shocked that I couldn't cry.
Wow, yeah.
And Jannik did end up going to the dinner. Everyone else did go to the dinner. And Jannik just sent me like a few cat gifs and memes to sort of be like, hey, I'm here. Everything's going to be okay.
Yes.
And
life-changing. It sounds life-changing.
It was.
Wow. Do you remember well, you said you don't remember the class, or how from then on you changed?
Oh, yeah. Before that, I was very protective of my emotions. Mm-hmm. And I built my friendships very slowly.
Okay.
And since that, I'll make friends with anybody anywhere. Like, before arriving here, I already had friends in Spain, like that I met online. Mm-hmm. And I mean, in Valencia, I want to move to Valencia. I'm hoping in maybe a few months to live there. And I already have one of my best friends here in Spain is there. And we haven't met in person yet, but
you guys are friends.
But we're really close friends. I even have furniture in her house that's mine. And yeah, like I have a sense of fearlessness now with taking risks and meeting people and saying hi.
And even opening your heart.
Yeah.
Expressing your feelings.
I'm not really afraid of emotions anymore.
Wow, that is one big chain to take off, okay?
Like, I might have moments where, like, I'll jokingly be like, oh no, feelings, oh no, like, don't make me feel anything. Like, I'll play with that. But I'm not actually afraid of it. And I'm not afraid of being embarrassed. that's something that I've seen. So many people are afraid of embarrassment, and it holds them back in so many things in life. Like, they're afraid of embarrassment, they're afraid of making mistakes, and they're afraid of vulnerability. And I'm like, if you were not afraid of those things, imagine what you could do.
So much.
And for me, like, as a person, like, I've suffered from anxiety, generalized anxiety. I've suffered from depression. I've suffered from panic disorder, and I'm also epileptic. So, like, I have experience with having different types of crises. And so, at one point in my life, that meant having agoraphobia and being afraid of leaving the house and risking having a crisis out in public and not being with, like, a safe person like my brother or my mom, someone who knew me and knew what to do with me and who could bring me to safety and things like that. Now it's like, okay, like, if I'm out in public and I have a panic attack or if I have a seizure, it's like, okay. Like, people are gonna find out what that looks like.
Exactly, not be scared.
And it's gonna normalize it, and people, I mean, why should I hide it?
Definitely. Why should you hide it? I mean, wow. I love that. And I feel that goes, like, against what reality or what they have presented reality to us, and all the norms that no, everything has to be so controlled and so, I don't know, subdued, and
people live with so much shame. And it's on every level. It's like, we're ashamed of our bodies and their shapes and their colors and their marks, and, like, whether we have scars or wrinkles or anything. And I used to be afraid of leaving the house without makeup and things like that. Now I leave the house without makeup. It's like, do I look zombie-ish and dead? Sure, fine. People are gonna learn that some people look like that without makeup, okay? And I have this sense now that life is life, you know? Like, it sounds simple, but life is life. Like, why are we so afraid of it? And why are we so embarrassed by it?
Why are we? That's a great question.
Like,
it's so silly.
We're all taught to be ashamed of the most simple things. Like, oh, your toes are crooked, your nose is too big, your hairs are standing up,
or you speak too loud, or
your laugh is strange, or your teeth are crooked, or okay. And the same applies to millions of other people. Does that make me a bad person? Does that make me unworthy of love and happiness and living and enjoying and safety and freedom? And
like, it's so limiting. It takes so much energy to think about those things, right? Or all the time, oh no, I'm not gonna eat this because my body and summer's coming and I don't know what, or my face, and it takes so much energy to just focus on those things when we could be creating, we could be just doing so much.
I know. And it's like, it's okay to wear makeup, and it's okay to wear the clothes that you think flatter your body, and it's okay to do all the things that you think enhance your life and your appearance and whatever. It's okay. But do it from a place of joy. From a place of, like, hey, this makes me happy. As opposed to a place of shame and self-judgment and self-hatred.
Exactly.
And I used to do so many things from that place of shame and self-hatred and embarrassment. And I remember trying to leave the house and, like, going back in and checking the mirror again, and going back out and then checking the mirror.
Oh my God, I've done that too.
And then changing outfits so many times. And just hearing that voice in my head about like, am I okay? Am I doing this okay? And stressing out over so many things. And one thing that I love, and this is something that I learned, I think it was in Access, the question of, how did it go? I don't remember exactly how it was asked, but the idea or the premise is, what if you knew you couldn't fail?
I love that.
And
wow.
Okay.
Because in truth, we cannot fail, really. Like, we could just be ourselves and just live and choose, and what if that could always be right and perfect?
No, and when I look at my life, so many of my so-called failures have not been failures. I'll tell you, in relationships, a lot of my failures have been some of the best things. Because not all relationships are meant to be. Not all jobs are meant to be.
Definitely, yeah.
Not all situations are meant to be. And sometimes we fail ourselves out of what could be unhealthy situations. And sometimes we fail perhaps at what could be a good situation, let's say. But we can learn from that too.
Yes.
If we don't judge ourselves as, oh, I'm a failure, how miserable, how awful, we can go, okay, so that didn't work out. What else is possible? Like, that's an Access question that I love. What else is possible?
Exactly.
Like, I had a job a few months ago that was possibly the worst job I've ever had. And I've had some interesting jobs, but this one was particularly bad. I was working very closely with someone who, she had it in her head that I was unprofessional and irresponsible because I get seizures sometimes.
Oh my goodness.
Which I find hilarious, because how can you say that to someone's face?
And she told it to your face. Oh my God.
She told it to my face. Also my father some months ago was diagnosed with cancer, and I got the news while I was at work. And the whole day at work, like, I worked as normal and I did everything I had to do. And I had, a good day at work. I did everything as I should. And then it was after work, when we were cleaning up and sort of finishing up, that she asked me how I was doing and how I was feeling, that I sort of broke down and I cried a bit, and I told her what had happened, and that my dad had cancer. And when I cried and I told her that, she told me, well, we all have personal problems, but some of us, we put our work ahead of our personal problems, and we can tell the difference. And I was like,
oh my God.
Are you serious? Like, did you see me fail at my job at any point today? Like,
exactly.
And even if I had, I think I would have a decent reason to.
So pretty decent. I mean,
that was her in those moments, so you can imagine her like on a normal day.
Oh my God.
And it was fantastic. Like, it sounds awful, and Yes, at many points it was very stressful, but it was fantastic because I have been very accustomed before that to be extra polite, like extra polite and extra forgiving and yes, no problem, yes, no problem. And I'm very non-confrontational. I don't like arguing. I don't like drama. I don't like problems. So if there's no problem, there's no problem. And with her, it got to the point where I had to put my foot down sometimes,
Yeah.
She would be texting me until 9 p.m., saying all kinds of things about how bad I am. And
oh, wow.
Eventually, I had to just tell her, like, okay, like, you're making these complaints about me, and I would say, like, you've said this about me. I have adjusted in this way, and you're still not happy. You have said this about me, so I have made this change, which you're still not happy with. And you've said this about me, and I've made this change, which you're still not happy with. So I have come to believe that your problem is not with me. Maybe you have some kind of personal problem. If you want to talk about it, I'm here and I can listen. And if not, then I hope that you find a way to resolve it. But if you don't trust me, I cannot help you. I cannot fix the problem for you because your problem is not with me.
Exactly. Wow.
And then after that, whenever she would be harassing me and saying things to me, I would just tell her, I don't have time. I'm busy. I'm working.
Good answer.
And since then, I am much more shameless in putting my foot down whenever people are harassing me or saying things that don't make sense.
Yeah.
And so I really believe that there are no mistakes in life. I think what we make of the situations in our lives is the most important things. Like, yes, there are situations that are horrible, that we don't want to be in. And getting out of those situations might be the adequate choice. If you're in an abusive situation,
yes,
getting out of that situation might be the right answer. But when you get to those moments where something's not working for you, and you can finally make that choice of, hey, I am worth enough that I can actually put my foot down and say, hey, like, I don't need to believe and absorb the judgments that you're throwing at me. You become a different person in that moment. Because in my attempt to be friendly and nice and agreeable all the time, I thought I was just avoiding confrontation, but I ended up absorbing a lot of and internalizing a lot of the judgments that people would have of me. I thought I didn't.
Wow.
But I did. Like, I did end up sort of believing on some level, like, oh, maybe I'm not good enough, or oh, maybe, maybe because I have a chronic illness, I won't really amount to much. Which is ridiculous, because every day I'm creating something. But I still somehow believed it, because it's a judgment that I've received. And so being able to say, no, like, that's not true. Just because you're saying that to me doesn't mean that it's true. You don't know me. You don't know everything that I've done and everything that I've created. So why should I let you be the authority of who I am?
Exactly, and the judge of you, and she doesn't know you.
So that's where you see, like, okay, if there are no mistakes and if there is no failure, you get to kind of turn whatever situation into what's best for you.
I like that. I like that so much. It's another way of seeing things that really shifts the paradigm, right?
Yeah.
That's incredible. and everything that we've been speaking about. So with all these techniques that you do, that it can be like fast manual physical techniques, but you also doing these, using these also other tools, you do work online.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you deal with your work? How do you help people? Is it people who just want to let go of judgment, or want to heal physically, or I think you help them with everything, but if you can like give us an idea.
There's definitely a variety. There's such a huge variety. I help some people that want their businesses to grow. There are people that have gone through so many things in life that they don't really know who they are or what they want, and they're lost, and they want guidance in that situation. There are people that have suffered a lot of trauma and abuse and are looking to heal from that. There are people who feel alone even though they're not alone, and they don't know why. Like, they feel misunderstood by the world.
Yeah.
And there are couples and families that love each other, but they maybe aren't fully understanding each other or clicking and connecting. And so, like, I'll have sessions with one person and then another person and then in groups, and help them with their dynamics. It can be all kinds of things. Also, people struggling with illnesses and physical ailments, where we sort of look at, okay, what is it that's going on, and what is it we can do to help you live better. I'm not going to promise anyone a cure, because I'm not a medical doctor, but I am chronically ill myself, and I have reached a life that's working very well for me, using a lot of tools. So I can definitely assist in helping someone make their life work for them, and overcoming a lot of the self-judgment and feeling of impotence that can come with illness and injury and things like that.
And do you feel that you have, because of the way you see life and the way you live your life, that you have been able to, I don't know if the word is stop, but like halt that chronic illness that you have, or manage it better,
Definitely manage it better, and also reduce symptoms to a certain degree. It depends a bit on the condition. I have more than one condition. There's a bit of an array. For example, my fibromyalgia is way better. Way, 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 way better. It used to be to the point where I'd be crying and miserable. And I do take medication as well. But even comparing like myself with medication at different points in my life, I do see that the tools that I use assist me a lot in reducing the symptoms. Because I've noticed that there's a strong emotional component to fibromyalgia. We know that, even medically, we know that it's often rooted in trauma. And there's a strong link in the way that it acts. A lot of the pathways in the brain are very similar to those in depression. So it's like a physical version of depression in a lot of ways. So in that sense, like, I've definitely been able to improve a lot with that. With my epilepsy, I have a very funny relationship with my epilepsy. That one can be up and down, but I don't have a negative relationship with it. Like, there have been times where I did. There have been times where it was stressful and painful and exasperating, and just entire months of constant seizures and not knowing what to do with my life because of it. And now it's very like nonchalant and like, okay, seizure time. Cool. And I've come to sort of develop a relationship with my seizures where I know very well what triggers them. And sometimes I feel like they're kind of trying to tell me something. Like they have a lot to say about how I'm doing, how I'm feeling.
Wow, yeah.
When I need to sort of take better care of myself.
Okay. Physically and emotionally?
Yes.
Okay.
Because there's a strong link, in my case, with my seizures to stress and to when I'm maybe burning out or...
Yeah.
But there's also a link to when I'm stepping out of my comfort zone and challenging myself. So there are like two different types, and they do feel a little different.
Yeah.
Wow. So sometimes when I'm stepping out of my comfort zone and I'm about to have like a big change in my life, I get a certain kind of seizures that feel a bit different from like my stress and overwhelm seizures.
Yeah.
So like these are the kinds of things that over time I've come to learn about myself that without all these tools I would never know, and I would just follow the completely medical path.
Yes.
Where it's like, okay, you have an illness, take medication, and we're sorry. Which, yes, I have an illness, and yes, I take medication, but I don't feel sorry for myself.
No, exactly.
I don't feel sorry for myself because I have a level of awareness, of self-awareness,
yes,
that lets me have a relationship with these conditions that's not disempowering.
Exactly. Not seeing yourself as limited, but as, okay, this is here, this is what's happening, but you can still live, you can still do many things, and like that, maybe see, okay, different types of seizures, because maybe I'm going to have an incredible change in my life. And
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really powerful that you're able to be so aware. Because it's that, it's awareness.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, in truth, then you help with a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
The people that you see, and also your mother and also your brother with Develop Your Element. They would also have an interview with him. But now, speaking a little bit about healing physically, people, like, how has that experience been for you?
It's beautiful. It's beautiful because it surprises you.
Lovely.
Something that I remember when I got into sort of that aspect of personal development, where it's the physical healing. I was very hesitant because I don't like making promises.
Okay.
But what I've seen is that when you have an open mind about what can show up, it's amazing what can show up.
Yeah.
So, and I've also seen that there's a lot of personal choice that goes into it. This is something that can be a little bit controversial, and not everybody necessarily wants to acknowledge it. But we have very strong connections with our bodies, and we have very strong connections with what we create with our bodies. So when we go into that world of physical healing, it's not just about, oh, you have an ailment, let me heal it. We go into a world of communication with the body and communication with the person about their body and the person with their body. and sort of restoring that relationship that's probably been a bit disconnected and a bit damaged. Because most of us don't really nurture that relationship as much as it should be. Most of us are taught to pick ourselves up and not feel what we feel. Like if you fall and you get hurt, it's like, all right, get back up. We gotta do this and we gotta do that and put a band-aid on it and move on with your life. And then we get into studying and working and stress and having to have results, and we don't eat what our bodies perhaps are asking for. And when we do exercise routines, we don't necessarily do the ones that are adequate for our bodies or the ones that our bodies enjoy.
So true.
And so we really break the relationships that we have with our bodies. So when we get into this world of physical healing, what we're really getting into is restoring the relationships with our bodies. And that's the part that I'm the most excited about. Because when you can get somebody to realize what's going on with themselves and with their body, that's where true healing can really occur. Because I can do whatever magic and whatever processes and whatever energies and whatever techniques, but if you're insistent on suffering, you can keep suffering for as long as you want.
Yeah, exactly.
You really can. Because you're that powerful.
Exactly, because you're that powerful that you've created that.
Yeah.
And you're keeping it into existence.
And if you want to suffer, you can. But if you come to a place of vulnerability and connection with your body, and if you can lower your barriers and become vulnerable and present with your body, forgive yourself and your body, then we can really have change.
Wow.
And in that space, I've seen amazing things happen. Amazing things happen. And sometimes it's what the client came in for, and sometimes it's something else entirely.
Yes.
People can come in thinking that they want to fix their relationship or their money situation, and they walk out without back pain that they used to have. Or or no longer having the headaches that they used to have, or no longer suffering from hot flashes.
Yes.
Wow. And it's like, okay, we just did that.
Yeah, and I'm sure by fixing that or healing that, that other thing that they came for also falls into place, maybe even.
So many things change when you're not fighting against your body. Because suddenly you have a teammate in your life. Like, we go through life thinking that it's us against the world. And we go through life fighting and struggling and like with these like pickaxes, like climbing up the mountain, you know?
As if life is a struggle. And
and
it doesn't have to be.
I mean, sure, some situations are more difficult than others. I'm not going to say they're not. But it's not every moment of every single day and every single situation that's 2 pickaxes up a mountain.
Yeah.
And when you have the companionship of your body, like, there's an ease that comes with that. And I love that I'm saying this because I used to be the best at hating my body. And like, not in like the stereotypical, like, oh, I hate my body for how it looks way. Like, I always felt traditionally pretty, but I hated being in my body. Like, it felt wrong. It felt like the wrong species on the wrong planet. And like the parts were wrong. And like it was just not meant to function, and it was falling apart. And I was like, are there no spare parts? Like, can I not just go somewhere and get it like all taken apart and like cleaned out, get the oil changed and like put back together, you know?
Yes.
And I really didn't think I was gonna live this long. Like, I'm not even 30, almost, but not even 30. And I didn't think I was going to live this long because my body just felt so broken.
Wow.
And it turns out that when you enjoy your body and your relationship with your body, it ends up feeling less broken. And I thought that avoiding my body and hating my body was the solution to not feeling all the pain.
Wow.
Because I was always in pain. Whether it was physical pain or emotional pain. Since a very young age, I just remember feeling in pain.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like the world was in pain. I felt so connected to suffering, and I felt so connected to injustice, and I felt so connected to a sense of brokenness in the world and a desire to fix it and a sense of powerlessness.
Okay.
And I thought in order to survive long enough to fix it, I had to avoid my body, avoid the pain long enough to survive into some level of adulthood, come in, fix some of it, and then leave and die young.
Wow. Okay.
Like, I thought that was
Yeah.
the option that I had. And through all these different techniques, like each one in different ways, has helped me be more present with my body and enjoy having a body and enjoy my specific body. Like, hey, like, it's actually pretty cool. Like,
Yeah.
it put up with a lot. It put up with a lot of judgment that I threw at it. And a lot of rejection from me. And it still hung out, and it still kept doing everything in its power to be alive and as healthy as it possibly could.
Wow.
For me.
Exactly for you.
Because, like, other than me, what reason does it have? So, that for me was like, okay, maybe, like, I could be a little bit nicer.
That's something I think we need to learn.
Yeah.
To enjoy our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And not be so judgmental and not care what other people think.
Yeah.
And all that. And Itzel, do you consider yourself a spiritual person?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you bring that into your work.
Yeah.
Like, if you can talk to us a little bit about that. Being spiritual, how seeing the world through that lens, so to speak.
Yeah. It's funny because, like, compared to other people who say they're spiritual, I almost don't consider myself spiritual, but compared to people who say they're not spiritual, I do consider myself very spiritual.
I think I more or less understand what you're saying.
Because I don't follow, like, a specific line of spirituality. Like, I don't have very specific beliefs.
Okay.
But I definitely have the sense that there's something out there that we can't explain yet. Like, I'm very much a fan of science and the scientific method, and I love learning things and I love studying things, but I know there are things we don't know yet.
Okay.
And so to those things that we don't know yet, I'm very happy to call them spiritual. Like, I know some people don't want to call them that. And they're like, oh, no. Like, I believe in science and only science. And if we don't know it yet, I'll pretend it's not there, you know?
Yeah.
But for me, it's like, oh no, like, I'll totally have theories about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll totally listen to other people's theories about it. And I love learning about different spiritual theories and different religions and different ways of conceptualizing the spiritual world and different heavens and hells and spirits and gods and just because I don't follow like one specific set of beliefs doesn't mean that I'm not able to entertain any possibility.
Correct.
So in that sense, like I have this openness and curiosity towards the spiritual, and like I've definitely felt that in my life there's something that I don't know what is, and I don't know what to call, but that has played a huge role in my life, in guiding me. And it's funny because at the same time I feel like it's also me. Like, I don't feel like it's something entirely outside of myself.
Okay. But then maybe you are a part of it, or
yeah. Like, I do think that concepts that connect us to the whole.
Yes.
Like, there are many different versions of it. But lines of thought that have us as part of the whole and part of like the universe or part of consciousness or whatever you call it, those do go very much in line with what I believe. But definitely like this ability to expand out and go beyond just like me here into like a me that's out there as well, allows me to access a level of consciousness that's way greater than the me that's just in my head.
I love that.
Yeah.
That is so beautiful. And well, to start closing a little bit, so this channel is called We Are Infinite. We're infinite beings. Just wanted to know if you could give us like a last little message that goes in line with that and with what you do, because I think it's, it's very aligned.
Yeah.
For the people listening to us.
Yeah. It goes very much, I think, with my last line of thought. I don't know if I should be saying it to you or to the camera.
Whatever you prefer. Maybe to the camera.
I do want to invite all of you to whatever you believe or whatever you've typically conceptualized yourself as or the world as, this concept of expanding yourself out and this concept of yourself as an infinite being, as more than just you inside yourself and more than just you inside your head. What if you're more than that? Whether it's on a spiritual level or on a confidence boosting, hey, like I'm more than just my mind and I'm more than just in my head, however you conceptualize it. If you're more than just the you that's in your head, who would you be? And what would you create with that? That would be my last thought and my challenge.
And the challenge, exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Let's expand, let's think, let's create, right? Wow, Itzel, thank you so much for this. This has been incredible. Thank you so much. And we'll put all in the description, all the information, all your links, your social media, everything for people to be able to contact you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. Qué bien. Yo fui cerrando porque yo siento que estuvimos hablando